Hey guys, this is going to be my video and hopefully do my best to explain the Magic interface. When you launch the client, you click your little Magic Online icon, whether it's on your desktop or in your start menu. This is the page that's going to come up. The Magic Client runs this thing called Kicker, which basically helps you install the basic elements of your program. This is the opening scene. If you do have updates, you're going to have two buttons here, and this one on the left will say Update. You'll click that, and it'll go through the whole updating process. And once that's complete, you can finally update the game. The game will be updated, and you can finally launch it. The button on the right is going to be Repair. This is what you're going to use if you're having some problems with the game client, crashing, stuff like that. The first thing you're going to want to do is the Repair option. If that does not solve the problem, then you can look to some of the other ways to try and fix it. I've listed a couple links in my article there to try and help you out as far as any kind of tech help. Really am not going to be the best option for that, but here you can click on the launch button. It's going to bring up this little advertisement loading screen. As you see here, currently advertising AVR. Little scroll bar is going to load it up for you, and then you're going to be at the introduction login page. So, in the upper right hand corner, you're going to have three buttons available to you, pretty typical to any Windows option. The X, of course, closes the program. The little line on the left hand side minimizes it, and then the center square is going to enlarge it. You see, when it loads for me, I really have to hit the enlarge to be able to basically fit it to my screen size. So this is going to be an intro page, and I'm going to log in before talking about some of these options on the bottom, but let's talk about the login real quick. Pretty self-explanatory. You're going to type your username here and your password there and click log on. There's also an option here for forgot my password, and that'll get you to the prompt to help you identify your password if you have somehow forgotten it or locked yourself out of the account. Here's the play the free trial button. I haven't used it personally, but definitely feel free to do it if you want. On the left hand side is create new account. Now if you have followed my step-by-step process, I started off by telling you how to create an account before downloading. You can absolutely feel free to download first and then go through this whole create an account thing. Now let's see, I'm going to log in here real quick so that I can showcase this for you. Takes it a minute to connect, and then it's going to take us to the basic home page for the Magic Online game client. A lot of games have this kind of homepage thing going on, where it's got a lot of information for you based on recent news and so on and so on. You'll see here in this middle box at the top, it does have options for little tiny news articles that will occasionally, like you see, I don't know if you can see it, it'll be very small on your screen, but congratulations to people who have won recent big events in the Magic Online community. You also get top 5 clans, other stuff like that. You have options here for quick buttons here if you want to do certain things. If you click the play button, it will take you right into the just for fun room and right into the situation where you can create games. Let's go back to the home page. Shop will take you right to the shop, the Magic Online store, where you can buy packs, event tickets, and other pre-made decks. The draft button will take you to the area where you can do competitive limited drafting. Trade will open up the classified section basically, and the new player button will take you to the new player room. Now these are a great way to quickly jump to certain areas of the game, but there are other ways to navigate through the client. As you can basically understand here, these are pretty self-explanatory buttons. This one here, official website, will take you to the basic Wizards homepage for Magic. The message boards will take you to the forums within that Magic website. Then you have two buttons here, chat with support and report a bug. These are great options. You're probably going to use these at some point in time, I will say. If you can't remember that these are on the home page for you to use, you can go to any chat when you're in a room and ask an orc, and they will be able to tell you where to find these links. On the right hand side, you will always have this kind of side column. There's 5 tabs when you first start out. You can adjust this slightly. You see, you move down on it and you can slide it, adjust the size left and right. The first tab here is going to be the buddies tab. You can see there's the number of names on this list, and every time you want to add a buddy, you can click this and type out the name. Or if you're already in a chat with someone, let's open up a chat with, okay, fine, it's not going to let me open up an old chat. If you open up a chat with somebody, This is what it's going to look like. You're going to have this rectangular box that you can move around your screen by clicking and holding on the top. If you go to the right hand corner here, it allows you to resize. You can go, enlarge, shrink, however you want. This section here, when you click, you can't really see it, but there's a little tiny flashing cursor, and you can type things and hit send or enter to do that. Now there's also a couple options here in the upper right. Again, these are going to be very small on your screen, so hopefully you can try this out yourself. The little X obviously will close it, and this more important one, the arrows will dock it, which means it moves it over into this side column where you can see it. Now when you're in a game, you're going to have this column going on for the specific game, and it's going to have your name as well as the person you're playing against. If you want to friend that person, by right-clicking on that name, you're going to have a lot of options available to you. Information will tell you more about the person. Private chat opens up the box that you will see here. Trade opens up trade, and that has to be accepted by the other person. If you want to re-challenge, if you want to rematch, you can use this to do that. You'll do challenge, and it'll open up a window to submit a deck. Now here it says, remove buddy. If this person was not already on your friends list, they would have an option to add buddy. And then the final option is block user. If you have someone who you're not comfortable playing against, they're harassing you in some way, any of those options, you can use block user, and this is going to keep them from joining a game that you create. Now this will not stop them this will not stop you from joining a table. So if you block someone and forget about it, and months later you join a game and you see that person is on your blocked list, this is something that can happen. Unfortunately, there's no kind of warning system in place that will warn you or prevent you from joining a game with someone who you have blocked. So let's close this again. When you're in the buddy system here, you also can remove buddies. You have a whole bunch of names here, and if you choose to remove them, someone who's been offline for a while no longer plays the game, and you want to clean it up, that's the way to do it. The next tab here we'll look at is the constructed. This is up because I am in the just for fun room, and I'll get into more detail for this, but when you're in a room like this, you have this kind of generic chat. It has at the bottom here all of the people who are available, and at the very top are orcs. Those are, basically raters for the room. If you have any questions, they're the people to go to. You can ask them in general chat, or you can actually double-click on the name to PM them and whisper them specifically about something. Now, if you see a name in red on this list, it means that they are currently in a game, I believe, and the green is the ones who are waiting for game. Black are just other people in the room. Now, you will always have this My Cart availability. That pops up from being in the store. I believe it's in there every time you log in, even if you had not gone to the store. Yeah, that's correct, because I haven't actually done it myself. And so if you're in the store and you're buying stuff, you'll always have the cart open, and if at some point in time you decide finally you want to actually make that purchase, simply click proceed to checkout and go through that process. Games here will save a replay of most of your games. There's something about the client where it does not want to save every single replay, so you may not get a saved game if you want to go back and look at it, but it does give you opportunities to see the games. At the top here, it shows you who was playing. Here it's my name and then my opponent's. There's a little W in parentheses based on who actually won it, and even smaller at the top here is information regarding the date and the time that the game occurred and it happened. Now the card option here is not so great. You see, it's just giving you the back of the card. This is going to be more helpful if you are, in the deck editor. Give this a minute to load up here, and you're looking at a card and you want to see a bigger view of it. When you hover over a card, it will show up here in a bigger form. If you're having trouble, you can also, if you double click, if you use the left and right click on your mouse, you can enlarge a card. I believe also if you have a mouse with a scroll wheel on it, and the scroll wheel has the ability to click as a button, then that will also enlarge a card, and that's even going to be bigger than the one you see in the card option here. So that's those options. Let's clear this room out so I can show you. You'll have at the bottom when you log in these 5 buttons here. Menu, Collection, Deck Editor, Store, and Home. Now, Home button is going to take you to this page that shows up when you first log in. Excuse me. I'm trying not to choke here. Now when you click the store button, this is going to be the Magic Online store. And this is again the place where you can buy theme decks, booster packs. So you see here all the different options. It does oftentimes take a few minutes for this to load. I don't know if that's the client or what it is, but it does take a few minutes usually to load. If there's something like a new release set, say we just had AVR release not too long ago. If something like that has happened where a new set has just come online, if there's release events, stuff like that, when you buy tickets or packs, it may be a delayed reception. You may have to actually wait several minutes. I think the longest I've had to wait was maybe half an hour, actually, for the items that I purchased to actually show up within my game. So when you load store, this is what it looks like. You're going to have, again, the cart option here. These buttons on the bottom, you have official website, again, taking you to the Magic website. You're going to have account options. You see the little arrow on this. When you click on it, it gives you other options. Order history, address, email address, other things you can change, and a help option. Now, it starts out in the storefront, and these are featured products. At this current time, they just had Plane Chase come online, so the featured products here are pretty much all of the Plane Chase decks. You also have an ability, this is where they're going to be, you see AVR just came out, so they're going to throw up a single booster pack. These are basically going to be the most common items at the time, the newer products, the stuff they're trying to promote, things you're most likely going to be looking for. They even have options you see here where you can get a sealed event pack, which is going to give you everything you need to join a sealed event. They do the same thing for draft packs, etc. Pre-made decks, and so on. Now you can also click these buttons on the side to get specific items. If you're looking specifically for booster packs, theme decks, special sets, when you click on this, this is going to be, you see here, the Plane Chase are part of that. It's also going to feature things like, you see the Planeswalkers, this is Venseer versus Koth, decks like that. If you're looking for event tickets, you can click on this, and this is also where you'll find options for the sealed events, the draft event packs, for all of the current drafts that are going on right now. Set redemptions, if you have actually completed a complete digital set of any set, I don't know the best way to describe this, you can actually redeem digital cards for paper cards. If you have completed a set, online, you can use the redeem option. It does cost $5 apparently. I've never personally done this because I don't play paper Magic, but apparently it's going to cost you $5 if you want to redeem a set. You also have options here if you're looking for packs and stuff. These are recent expansion buttons, and each button is going to be the symbol from that set. So this is the symbol from AVR, and if you click on it, it's going to bring you straight to the AVR options for the store. So that pretty much covers the store. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what happens when you proceed to checkout. It's going to go through this whole thing. You'll have to kind of explore it yourself if you haven't really set up the details. It's going to require a credit card or PayPal account to do that. Let's go, we're going to skip Deck Editor real quick, and we're going to go to Collection. When you click on the Collection tab, this brings up your entire Magic collection. Now, each tab here, it's like a book, and each tab on the book is a different set. This is great. This is one of my favorite parts, is the fact that it's all pre-organized for you. I've really got this kind of anal retentive self that loves everything organized. Now, it keeps your collection organized. Most recent stuff is first. It then organizes by color. If you click these little folded over tabs on the left and the right, it will help you. That scrolls one page further, either direction. The one on the left is to go back. Now you can also find, as you go down later, you have all the core sets are kind of junked together. You also have the promos, the pre-made decks, and finally the last tab is going to be for any kind of packs or stuff that you have stored. Now you'll see here there's a whole bunch of stuff, and I know that I'm going to miss stuff, and don't jump on me if I've forgotten options. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. Now when you have collection cards in your collection, it's going to show the card here. The first number here is what you owned. I'm sorry, that's bad grammar. Is how many you own of that card. So here I have the Manor Skeleton. I only own a single copy. Now, the For Trade button, it says or trade, but this is how many you want to trade. So if I have one here and I want to make it tradable, so to say, use the up arrow, and now this changes to 1. If I want to decrease it, it's 0. This is if you want to be able to trade cards, you have to first make them tradable. So you have to up the trade count in your client here. You're going to push up 2. I just want one of my 2 cards tradable, 0 tradable, so on. You're also going to have all of your foil cards are going to be featured in here as well. Now if you right click, this is going to help you if you are interested in trading cards. There's a fast way to do it. The first option here when you right click is make all cards in excess of 4 tradable. Now this is a good option because you can never use more than 4 of any card in a deck outside of basic lands. So usually when I'm sorting my cards, I always go and click this. It makes anything beyond 4, which is unnecessary, it makes those all tradable. So if I'm interacting with a bot and they find something they want to trade for, it's going to be only stuff that I no longer need. You also have an option here to make all cards tradable. And when you do these, depending on your system settings and requirements and whatnot, it may take a few minutes for it to finally update, but you also have an option to make all cards untradeable. Now the only thing I will say about this is when you make cards in excess of 4 tradable, this also includes basic lands and snow-covered lands. Snow-covered lands are considered basic, but they do in excess of 4 become tradable. This is important because if you're trading with a bot, you may find yourself in a situation where the bot picks up lands and you don't even notice it. I did lose pretty much all of my snow lands to a bot once when I very first started playing because I didn't realize that they had become tradable with this excess of 4 option, and the bot took them and I wasn't paying attention. Just something to keep in mind. And again, if you want to click through, it is kind of a downside to the client. You can't really see the symbols too well, so if you're looking for a specific set, I really recommend that what you do is you come to this top drop-down box. When you click on this, it's going to open up a whole bunch of different filters for your cards, and that's kind of what all of these buttons up top are going to help you filter if you're looking for specific cards. This is more useful when you're using the deck editor option, but it can be used here as well. When you click down this box, it will bring you all of the options you have at the beginning, a lot of the formats, standard, extended, legacy, so on and so on. But as you scroll down more, it breaks it down based on blocks. So you see here Innistrad block, and then you can have the option to get all of the cards in the block. Or you can go more specific and you can grab only a specific set within the block. Say I only wanted to see what cards I had from Dark Ascension. I can click on that. As you scroll down further, these are pretty much arranged by release date, so the older sets are kind of towards the bottom, but there are some exceptions, like Ice Age block is in the center between Ravnica and Time Spiral because that's where Cold Snap came out, and that was actually technically part of Ice Age block. But as you scroll down, it's the older sets and kind of in order. The core sets are in the bottom beneath all of the actual sets. You can have again the option to sort just core sets, or you can sort through a specific one. Further beyond that is any Masters Edition cards. Special sets come after that, and you can again search to special sets or search specific to a theme deck, your commander, your plane chase, and so on. Premium deck comes after that. The dual decks from the Vault series, and then qualifier points. Now, the only way that you're going to see these is to actually go to these. These don't actually show up for whatever reason. They're supposed to, I guess, show up when you click on the Boosters tab, but they don't. So if you wanted to see all of your qualifying points, this is where you're going to go to best see that. As you can see, I'm not really a heavy competitive player. I only have 1 point from Season 2. I really appreciate the fact that they've added this to the client. I think it's a great thing. We're going to scroll all the way back up. All the way back up. It's quite a list. There has been a lot. Pretty much almost everything that has been released online has come. Released in paper has come online. There are some exceptions. In a lot of the older sets, they have been releasing as Masters Edition. So if you're sitting there wondering, well, what's Masters Edition? Basically, that's a catch-all they've used to kind of make their own new sets. Some of the older cards have new rarities, and it's including stuff that is prior to, I guess, Mercadian Masks is currently the oldest set that they have online. No, that's not right. Is that right? So now I have to find out because it's going to kill me otherwise. But it includes a lot of stuff, stuff Fallen Empires or any of the really early sets that didn't really have, stuff on Unlimited and stuff. That's where they keep all the dual lands and so on. Mirage Block, I forgot they had that. Mirage was kind of an interesting thing. Did not get much play. Anyways, so then you have, to the left of this large bar, a series of other filter buttons. Now, the top is pretty obvious. They're color-coded. Each one is a different mana symbol. So you have your white, blue, black, red, and green mana, and then your colorless mana symbol. The colorless cards, this is going to include artifacts, as well as there have been a couple spells that have, like Ghostfire, been colorless, and it will also include your lands. Now, by clicking off one of these buttons, it's going to hide those cards. So now I'm looking at my full set, my full collection, without it's filtering out the black cards. If I wanted to, say, build a red and blue deck, and this is again going to be more important when it comes to deck editor, but if I wanted to see, all of the blue and red cards that I own, by clicking off all of the other colors, including the colorless, it's going to filter my collection down into just red and blue cards. Now, you also have options for other things under here, and these are spell types. There are 6 spell types. This first one on the left is going to hide all lands. And again, you can click these on and off. So when you click it the first time and it goes kind of dark gray, that means it is filtering out lands. You will not see them. When you click it again and it's white and it's a brighter gray, that means it is showing those. The second button here with the chalice on it, that is artifacts. The center one, I always call it center, it's not quite center, but with the claw marks on it, that is your creatures. The one that looks like a flame is your sorceries. The one after that with the lightning bolt is anything that is instant speed. And then the one at the very end that looks kind of like a sun, that is your enchantments. And you can mix and match these to click off and basically filter your collection down to see specific things. You get further options for filtering. The little smaller drop-down menu here under the big sort is going to be your rarity. First option is any rarity, but you have the option, say you're into playing Pauper, which is one of my favorite formats. You can click common rarity, and it'll show you all of the common cards that you own. At the same time, the drop down to the right of that is going to show you versions. Now this means you can filter to show only packs. You can filter premium version, which is basically any foil cards that you have, or regular cards. I can check what common foils that I own. And it's going to show here, you see at the top it says this is so-and-so's collection, this is how many cards total, and this is how many foil cards are currently being shown, or how many cards that are being shown based on this filter. I'm currently filtering, the only things I want to see are common foils. So I currently have 357 common foils is what this is telling me. And you can sit there and do all versions, and any rarity, and that shows you everything. If you've filtered a whole bunch of stuff and you want to just get back to the very bare minimum, the button here that says reset will reset everything back to its original its original settings. Now again, if you wanted to sort Pauper, you can also click Pauper and it's going to sort that. And you see it's only going to show these. Let's show this. I want to turn off blue. I don't want to see blue cards. I don't want to see instants. I don't want to see sorceries. So now this is what I'm seeing. Now when you click reset, it resets all of these cards and it brings it all back. Now I do want to point something else out here. There is a small glitch in the system when you do reset. If you notice, the top bar here is gone back to saying all cards that are online. But if you look at my collection, what it is showing you is still only commons. Because I hadn't set to Pauper. So what you have to do is go back to this menu and click the online button again, and now my rares have come back. I don't know how this glitch has ended up in the client here, but it is one that has been there for as long as I can remember. Now there are other options. You can sort here. This says you're sorting by set, then color, then type, but you can also set it to do set, then rarity, then number. And this rearranges things. You can also do set and then collector number. Each card, when it is printed, has a number, and that will organize it by that number. I like to keep it on the default for set color type. I think it just makes things easier to find. You can also, oddly enough, click check this box and click it, and it shows non-MTGO cards. I don't own any non-MTGO cards, so if you want to see these, what you have to do is change this owned drop box to equals 0. They have all of the cards that have ever been printed, and they're online basically. You see 3rd edition, 4th edition. You can see all of these cards. They're actually somewhere in the system, but not actually released to us. Kind of an odd thing. These are legends. This is Dark Moon, and it's really an interesting thing to me that they have these cards. They're online technically, but not really. Let's reset this again to get my collection back. Now, I said here you do have this owned option, and this is kind of an interesting thing. I use this occasionally when making trades or buying things. If you want to see, say I want to see all the cards that I'm missing from this set, what you do is you set owned equal to 0, and this will show all of the cards that you do not have a single card of. This means that you have exactly 0. It's going to take a minute to filter this out. But it means you do not own a single card. Oh, it's going to freeze up on me. Wait to respond. But when you set that owned box to equals 0, it's going to show you all of the cards equal to 0 for owned. Everything you do not own. And this is, of course, going to include all the foils. Now, this is not really helpful because most people don't care about foils, so you probably want to switch this drop-down box from all versions to regular. And this will give you a more accurate view of what you do not own. At the same time, this box below it says for trade. You can sort out what of your cards that you have for trade. Say I wanted to see anything that I do not have for trade, or I wanted to see everything that I had 4 cards for trade. It's something you're not going to use often, but the option is available. I find this owned option to be much more helpful. You can also, if you want to see where your holes are, say you're looking to complete a set, and a full set, and that 4 of every card in the set, and you want to see where you are as far as that is concerned. So you want to look at anything that is less than 4. You get this little caret here if you're not familiar. If the opening is to the right, it means less than. If the opening is to the left, it means greater than. So I want to show all of the cards less than 4. And this is going to show me every card that I do not own 4 of. So this will show something like this. Bloodline Keeper, it says owned 1. So I own 1, but I do not have a full set of 4. This will also include stuff like Blood Gift Demon, which I have 0 of. It can even go as far, I don't know if I see one here. Here we go. Curse of Oblivion, this is something I have 3 of. So this is, if I had gotten a single more Curse of Oblivion, this card would not show up here. This also means anything that you have in excess of 4 is not going to show up. I use this tool, like I said, a lot when I'm interacting with bots and I'm looking to kind of finish out credits, stuff like that. If you're looking for cards that you don't have a full set of, this is going to be the best way to do that. So there you go. I think, like I said, there are a lot of things you can do here. You also have these buttons here, if you can see them after the numbers. The little eyeball is what it's set to now, and that means you can actually see the cards. But if you click on the lines next to it, it's going to convert this from your full list, pictures in your full book of cards. It's going to convert that into a list so that you can actually see what the cards are by name in like a spreadsheet format. And again, you'll see that it does take a minute to convert these because there are so many cards online. And this gives you a whole bunch of options. These are, obviously the different categories. This is the name of the card, how many you have online, how many for trade, and so on and so on. And then you can use this arrow. You see this arrow next to set. You can sort ascending and descending. So say I want to sort alphabetically. When that arrow is pointing down on name, it means all of these cards are listed in alphabetical order from A to Z. If I click it again, it goes the other way. It sorts everything from Z to A. Helpful, I guess, if that's how you want to do it. You get the little scroll bar here that can assist you. But I like to keep the eye clicked so it does give you this option. And you see this little drop-down box up here. this is going to give you an option to jump to different chat windows, etc. But it's much easier to have this. You have these tabs at the bottom. I guess this is helpful if you have multiple, like many tabs open, because then it gets really crowded down here. But when you don't have many tabs open, this is an easier way. What else can I showcase here? If you click on these numbers, obviously it's going to jump you pages. I don't find this a very efficient way to deal with a set. These pages, as you can see, are specific. I currently have ISD open. That means Innistrad block, and it's going to help me sort through pages on Innistrad block, but not anything else. The best way, in my opinion, to navigate is through these little tabs that are bent over corners on this book. I think that's just going to be the best way. So, I know I'm going to forget something, and people are going to freak out on me for forgetting something in this interface. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause this video real quick and restart it so that I don't run out of time, because it's going to be crazy long, and we'll focus on Deck Editor. So now we're going to take a look at the Deck Editor. Now, a lot of this is pretty much the same. I just talked about in the collection section this button set up here. These are your filter buttons. I talked about this drop-down menu, which allows you to select a specific format or type, and this will again sort your card collection down from this full list of every card you have to anything that you need to use. Say I want to build a black and green Pauper deck. I scroll down to Pauper, and that's gonna take a minute, but it will sort this all to commons. Then click off all the colors that I don't want. No white, no blue, no red, and I don't want to look at colorless just yet. And it's going to keep this list sorted down to all green and black cards that I currently own. Now you can also see what cards you do not own by clicking off this checked box here that says My Cards, and this will bring up every card there is. It also offers cards. You see the infinity there, it means these are all of the cards possible. Keeping that check shows what you do have, and turning it off shows you what is possible. You also have an option here. You can click on the box that says Show All Versions. Now this will break things out. You see here Assassinate is something that I have printed in Time Spiral, Magic 11. I have it foiled in M11, and I have it in M10. These are it's an option if you wanted to. Some people get really particular about these things, say they didn't want 2 from this set and 1 from this one. It's a little more critical, I guess, when you have things like this. You look at these Agonizing Demise. This is one that came with one of the pre-made decks, and this is one that was printed originally, and you get a different border. Some people get really particular about the aesthetics of things, and they want to keep them all the same. So instead of, here, if I turn off Show All Versions, and then I go to add 4 of these Agonizing Demise, you'll see that one of them doesn't look like the other 3. And so you can solve that by clicking Show All Versions and then clicking all the ones that you want. So they all look nice and pretty for you. Now I know some people might think that is ridiculous, but that's the way it goes. Now you also have an option, let's turn that back off. This is not helpful. So you also have the option to add cards to your deck. As you see, when you double click on a card, it's going to automatically put it down here, and this is your built deck zone. This shows you the cards that you have added to the current deck you're working on. Let's take those out. So if I want to add Altar's Reap to the deck, I have a couple options here. The first option I can do, like I said, is double click. This gets a little bit troublesome because if you want to sit there and add 4 copies, you have to double click on this card 4 times. That's not so helpful. What you really want to do is, to make things go faster at least, is by right-clicking on a card, you bring up this drop-down box that says Add 1 to deck, Add 4 to deck, Add 10 to deck, Add 1 to sideboard, Add 4 to sideboard. So I can right-click on this card, I can simply click Add 4 to deck, and it adds 4 to my deck. Now you have options when you're playing down here. You see if I click and hold and drag, I can select a large area of cards, and this will allow me to pick up these cards as a set. Instead of again dragging each card individually, I can pick up all 4 Altar Reaps and rearrange them, or simply drag them back to my card pool and drop them to let them reset. Now, you have some options as far as scrolling down. You can turn this back into the list. Another thing, I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but when I first click this list button, and I do this often when I'm building, if I want my deck, you see here, you have the option to do the little eyeball to make the pictures or the list. I find out a lot when I'm trying to do this, what happens is the fact that you get nothing showing up. So what you have to do is click on any area. If you click type, it'll magically appear. And again, this arrow shows you can sort, descending with alphabetical and vice versa. You can also sort by the number you have, mana cost, etc. But in order to get these cards to actually show up in the list, you have to click on one of these headers in order to make that happen. I like to personally, most of the time at least, work out of this pictured mode. It gets a little bit troublesome when you reach bigger decks, prismatic and stuff. Then it's easier to build those decks with this list function. So, what else can we do here? If you want to add to sideboard, when you first load it up, this is pretty standard for me, at least it looks like this. Sometimes it will be rearranged and you'll have things going on like this where your deck area is huge. If you bring your cursor over the top bar here where it says deck, this gray line, and click, and you can move your mouse up and down to adjust the size. This helps if you want to close all the way those cards. You've got the cards you want for the deck and you want to simply focus on rearranging stuff here. That's your option. I like to usually keep it about here when I'm building decks. This gives me 2 rows of cards from my card pool that I can see and I can add and adjust, so on. You can also, again, you have the reset button that will reset everything back. It'll turn off all these filters, but again, you run into the situation I talked about before where it's going to show me only these common cards. So you have to click all cards online again. So you also get a search box here if you wanted to simply look for a particular card. Say I wanted to find a Cruel Edict, I can just type Edict and hit search or enter, and it will search through and narrow down my collection to all cards that have Edict in the title, and then I can add those to my deck as needed. You also have at the bottom here a third kind of area, and this is your sideboard. Now if you look here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it because it is awfully small, but it does say deck 0 of 60. This is because most decks are 60 cards. You have a little box here with an asterisk in it. Then you have lands equals 0, creatures equals 0. And as you build, these numbers will change to tell you these things, tell you how many lands you've added, how many creatures you have. This little section with the star in it, we'll get to that in a second, but that's your deck name. Sideboard, it does the same thing. Sideboard 0 of 15. This is because a sideboard, to be legal, can be no more than 15 cards. Lands, and shows how many creatures. Since I usually play casual, and decks in casual usually do not have sideboards, I keep that pretty much minimized. I drag it all the way down so you cannot see it. Now, in deck building, you have a new set of 5 buttons here that will basically help you interact with decks. You have a load option. Let's readjust this because it bothers me. You have a load option to load a pre-existing saved deck. Save as would be if you have a deck that is already saved to something but you want to rename it. Say you're working with a mono black deck and you wanted to make some changes and test it. You can save it, hit save as and type in, mono black 2, and then you can rearrange cards and save it that way, and that way you haven't lost your original deck. If you're familiar with working in stuff like Word, Microsoft Word and stuff like that, it's pretty much the same process. The save button is going to help you save whatever deck you're working on at that current time. Let's see. Let's get to new. If you had cards down here, let's just add a whole bunch of stuff. Let's put some of these in there, and you're working on a deck, okay? Now, if you wanted to get rid of these cards, you wanted to completely start over, you can hit the new button. Now when you do, it's going to prompt you with this little option, and this is just in case you do this accidentally. It says, the current deck has not been saved. Do you want to continue without saving? If you hit yes, it will get rid of that, and you can start over. If you hit no, it'll bring up the save screen. When you go to save, I have to have cards in my deck. When you go to save, it brings up this box. Now this gives you some options. You can use the look-in, and it's going to help you find folders where you want to save stuff. You can create a default folder. You can use this pathing here. You also get this little folder icon is going to help you create new folders, and the little back arrow will help you kind of step up one level through that folder. You have options. You can hit desktop, you can use your C drive, and so on and so on. There's also a theme decks set here, which will bring up the folders from the different saved theme decks that are available. When you want to save, you just type the file name here, here, and hit save, and that'll do it for you. All decks are saved in .dek format automatically, which is basically the program format for loading decks. Now, I want to talk about you have an let's do this real quick. You have an add land button, and this is something they added. I'm going to say recently. It's been I took a break, and it wasn't something that happened prior to my break. Excuse me. It is something that they had added since. This gives you an option to click up lands. These are your 5 basic land types, and you can click up, say, okay, I want 4 plains, I want 2 islands, I want 4 swamps. You also have the option to hit suggest, and it will generate land for you based on how many cards you have. Usually you want to do this when the only thing you have left to add are basic lands, and I always recommend double checking what it says. Here it's saying you want 57 islands, and if I say, well, I don't really need that many islands, then you can alter this and check it down, lower your number, and then when you're done, you hit done, and it adds those to your deck. But let's continue without saving. I'm going to load up a deck here real quick for you. To take this back to my default folder. The default folder is wherever you left off. So you see I left off when I hit close on this. After showing this to you guys, it was in theme decks, so it automatically sets that as my default, but that is not where I want to be. So here's my default folder. I want to load up a deck. I'm obviously going to click load, and it's going to bring you this similar screen, same options as the save one. So I want to load Pauper. Let's load, I don't know, there's so many decks here, but I wanted to see one where I had some foils because I want to show something. Let's try green-white tokens. Let's see if this is one of these. This will work. Okay, so when you first load up a format, I'm going to enlarge this just so I can explain this area of the client better. When you first load up a deck, this is what it's going to look like. Now, you have options. It is currently sorted by color. You see all my white cards are piled on each other, all the green cards, these are gold cards, and these are all lands. Now, when you right-click in this area, it gives you some options. First one, select all cards. Now it is selected cards, I can drag them around, and this is great. This is, as I said, it gives me an option to pick up all the cards as just one, as opposed to actually going through and doing individually dragging cards. Now it says piles by name. When you click on this, it sorts out all of your cards in alphabetical order based on name. So you see all of my planes are together. It basically is going to be the best way to look at a deck. It shows all of your full sets. I've got all my Souls Wardens are together, all my Spider Silk Armors. It's all, back in order. Now this is a great thing to do. This is pretty much the way you want to focus on your decks. I think it's the easiest way to build first off. But there are other important things. Piles by color, obviously going to take you right back to this format. Piles by converted mana cost is a pretty useful one as well. This sorts your cards by converted mana cost. You see all my lands are together because they are 0 converted mana cost. All these Wardens and stuff, 1. These are my 2s, my 3s, my 4s, my 5s. This is a great thing to do when you're building a deck. It shows you what your mana curve is, and it's going to show you your how you can approach that if you want to look at it that way. The one place I really find this helpful is definitely going to be in drafting and limited formats. And it can be helpful after the fact, after you've built your deck and you want to just kind of refine it a little bit and look at it that way. You also have an option to sort piles by rarity. Again, more helpful when it comes to draft formats and sealed formats, and you want to see what cards you got quick. You have these same options when you right-click in those formats in deck building as well. You see it looks a little stupid here where it's all commons, so you can sort piles by creature type. I guess this is more helpful for tribal format. I've never really found a use for that option. And then you have an option to save a wish list. I don't want to get too much into that because that's almost a whole topic in itself, but you can save an option for you can add cards that you do not own to a deck and then save a wish list of cards that you want. Is basically the simple way to put that. Now I do want to point out one thing with this deck is you'll see here you have the forests and the plains and this Lumithred field. These all have red titles. Now this means that these are cards that you do not currently own. This is helpful if you're building a deck. I know that net decking is just this horrible thing, but it happens. If you're building a deck and you're putting together the cards and you want to see what you're missing, you can put the deck together, you look at what's listed in red, and these are cards that you do not own. It's kind of an interesting thing because stuff like the forests and the plains, these are cards that you are going to own 99.9% of the time. You will have the available lands to put these decks together. And when it's red like this, and you do actually own the card, and you see here with these Lumithred fields, if I go, let's bring this down here, if I search my collection for Lumithred field, it is going to come up here and show that I do own 4 copies of this. Now, the reason that it's in red here is because the copies I own are foil, and these copies that I've added to deck are just plain non-foil cards. Now, this is also something that happens if there's multiple types. I just talked about Assassinate as being one of these things where it was something that was printed in multiple sets. So if you go, say you turn off my cards, and it gives you this infinity, when you click add 4 to deck, it's going to add 4 of the card on top if that's something that you do not own that specific type of, you don't own, it's showing, for example, all the ones from Time Spiral, but you own all the ones from M10, then it's not necessarily going to correctly add the cards. It may add them and say you don't have them, but really you do have them, you just have them in a different form, you have them printed in a different set. Something like that. So don't freak out if it says here, oh, you don't have this card, and you're like, wait, I know I have it. If you want to double check, just simply type it in your search and it'll show you that you do have the card. When you load up a game in an actual game setting and you load the deck that way, it's going to bring up the cards, it's going to load the deck without a problem. If you try and load a deck that does not, that you do not own all the cards for, it will come up and say, wait a minute, you can't do this, you don't have the cards. So do not fret, and sometimes that will occasionally happen. If that does happen, I recommend coming back to this deck editor tab, loading up the deck, and taking a look at what's in red and why it may be an issue. You also get the Planeswalker cards. These are cards that come with the game. It's really not a great thing for the experienced player. The introduction player, it's I guess a good thing because it is giving them a whole bunch of free cards that they can play around with. For the experienced card player, you will get bored and annoyed by these. These are the ones with the gold borders, as you see here, like Abyssal Spectre. If these cards end up in your deck, by some chance, you did add 4 and it turned out to add those that way, what's going to happen is it's not going to let you load the deck in the casual room unless you're playing a Planeswalker game, because that is the only format where these cards are legal. So something to keep in mind, just watch out for the gold bordered cards. You don't want to be adding those unless you're actually playing a deck that is all gold borders. You'll see here it also, if you go to your sideboard, this one actually does have a sideboard, and when you right click you get all of the same options for sorting. Sorting these out by rarity and color and creature type and so on. So you have a lot of options for changing stuff here for doing this. Now, you'll notice here I was talking about that little box with the asterisk. Here it shows the name of the deck. gwtokens.deck is what I have titled this. Now, if this is with a little asterisk, that means that some change has been made to this to this deck, and it has not been saved with that change. So if you see this asterisk and you want to save the changes, click Save, and it simply does that. If you see this asterisk and you're like, wait a minute, I haven't changed anything, then I don't recommend hitting the Save button. This will simply happen. Let's just reload this deck. As you see, it'll say there's changes that haven't been saved. Do you want to continue without? So let's load up a deck here, and you'll see this is a 5-color teachings deck that I did an article on, and it says 5colorteachings.deck. Bam, no problems. Now if I'm sitting here and I'm playing around, let's sort by converted mana cost, let's sort by name, okay, let's move this here, and by simply moving that, you see this exclude was here, it's sorted by name, and then I decided, okay, I want to sort out all of my counter spells, so I add it to a pile with Fairy Trickery. Now what's happened is the little asterisk has come up. And this is a little annoying because I've made no actual changes to the deck. I've simply rearranged the piles. And all of a sudden it's saying, wait, there's a change that needs to be saved. Do you want to save it? No, nothing's really been changed. I tend to, if you aren't sure, if you know a deck was right when you loaded it, just don't hit save. That way you don't accidentally... There have been times where I've accidentally double-clicked a card or slid and one stuck with my mouse and dropped it to 59 and hit save. And then you're like, oh crap, what happened? So I recommend if it was correct when you loaded it, don't bother hitting save a second time. So, what else can I say about the deck editor? There's a lot of... Oh, here we go. The stats button. This is a great thing. When you hit the stats button, it brings up this, your deck analysis. This can be helpful if you really know what you're looking for. The first pie chart here is cards by type. It shows here I'm at 41% lands, I have 1.6% creatures, and 56% are instants. You also get a breakdown here of your mana curve, so if you didn't sit there and right-click and sort by mana cost, it does that automatically for you and shows you where your mana curve lies. To the right of that, you have the colored mana symbols, and this will tell you how many of each colored mana symbol appears. So, this is not how many blue cards do I own, because if you notice, Counterspell's got 2 blue mana symbols. It just wants to know how many mana symbols are on spell cards. Now, this is what basically the add land feature is based on. It suggests based upon the statistics. But this is why I say pay attention to this. So if I do add land here, it's going to probably suggest very few of these and just a whole ton of blue. That may not necessarily be what I want. So what this is going to say is, it says, yeah, you have a lot of blue mana symbols. And it's like, well, yeah, I do, but I don't think that what I need is, a whole bunch of islands. That's not really helpful. This becomes more of an issue if you run into stuff like, let's see if I can find one. It's not so much the gold-colored cards as, where is it? There was a set of cards that have been released, I think during Shards, that had optional mana symbols. So here we go. The Bant Surblade here. You look here, you have an optional mana symbol, which means that you can pay either blue or green mana in addition to white to play this creature. Now, this messes up your stats, because if that card is in my deck, it counts it as both green and white. I'm sorry, both green and blue. So it's going to try and, if you have a deck that is green and white, and you have the Bant Surblade in there, it's going to want to add blue mana through this add land command when you don't really need it. So that's why I always tell you to double check your add lands, verify it with this. This is a little more helpful when you look at spells by color. This tells you their mana symbols. This tells you the actual number of spells based on each color. So you can look through and say, okay, so according to this chart, I am playing with mostly blue cards, but still a lot of red, so that may be my second highest, and then, not much in the way of green or black. You also get a drop-down menu here. This is your analysis, and this is what loads up whenever you hit the statistics button. But you can change it to format, and this will bring up a whole list of formats, and this is every format possible. And in the second column here, it shows, is this deck legal for this format? You see here, this deck is not legal for Standard or Mentor, it's not legal for Extended. It is classically in Legacy legal. and then it gives you the reason. So it says, why is this not standard illegal? Well, there are illegal cards, and it lists out, it's a little annoying, but it lists out every card that is illegal. So every card that would not be legal in standard format, it tells you what they are. This gives you an option if maybe there's just one card that you accidentally put in that is not standard legal, you can go in and see this and go, oh, okay, so I know where my error is. This is often encountered when you come into something like you load a deck and it says, nope, won't let you load it, and you're like, wait a minute, I know I have all these cards, I know there's no more than 4, I know it's a legal deck, and you're like, why does it not work for this format? This can be helpful if you come here and you click on stats and change this drop down box to format. You have the little scroll bar here, you just scroll down to what the format is and see if it's legal, and it'll tell you what card in there is not an actual legal card. You also have here play formats. It tells you the breakdown, so I can go, okay, standard, what are the permitted sets? And as I scroll across, it shows Innistrad, Dark Ascension, AVR, and it gives you the whole list of cards, sets that cards would be legal for, and you're like, okay, so this is very helpful. You also have this one here called probabilities. I don't use this very often. I'm not entirely sure how to use it. The basic idea I can tell you is it will tell you your probability of, say, drawing a land on turn 4, drawing the instant that you need on turn 7, the probability that you have the creature and the land that you need on turn 2 to win the game, stuff like that. I've not played much with this. I really don't know how it works. This show, you can see, you click on it and it says, what are my odds of drawing any land? Well, on turn 1 it's 98%, turn 2 you have a 99% probability, and as you add things to this list, what are my odds of having a land, a creature, and an instant? You're like, okay, well, by turn 8 it's pretty good, you got a 26% chance. Turn 1 it's only about 12%. But you can add stuff, you can delete stuff, and it's just, it's very complicated for the beginning user. I personally find it not very useful just in general, but it is an option that you have available to you to play around with. So I think that covers everything. Kind of helpful, you do get, again, the cards tab. One thing that I didn't mention earlier is you get this little arrow here. I talked about this little side column, and this brings up all your chats and whatnot. If you hit this click on this little arrow here, it completely minimizes that entire side column. This can be a little more helpful when you're doing stuff like deck building and you wanted to see more cards. Having this open is going to limit how many cards you can see. Alright, so I guess we're going to move on now to this last button here at the bottom. This is the menu button. Now what this menu button is going to do, it's going to give you all of the options for different rooms you want to be in. You obviously have exit and help. If you hover your mouse over any one of these, it opens up submenus. So if we hover over help, help is going to say help on this particular scene, chat with support, help with the main menu, submit a bug, and about Magic Online. Again, a great resource if you're in game and you have troubles with, say the game crashed in the middle of a competitive event and you're looking for reimbursement or stuff like this. And again, if you have troubles, you forget this is there, any orc will be able to help you. The settings tab. There are 3 basic types of settings here: personal, display, and gameplay. Let's just click on one of these to bring these up. This is the personal settings. It gives you options for your name, email. Let's delete that. Now that I see it, you can have a comment for your profile. It shows you who's blocked, prize eligibility, all of this stuff. But now instead of going down to menu and settings again, if I want to go to gameplay settings, you have the options here at the bottom. You have a button here for gameplay and the display settings. So now I can go to gameplay, and this will bring up all my gameplay settings. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what you can choose here. I am going to talk about it a bit in the article. I just wanted to give you a basic understanding of where stuff is. So under gameplay settings, you have plenty of options. This is the most important part here. The setting stops allows you to set literally stops for when you want the game to give you the option to hit OK and whatnot on your turn, and make sure you also set your opponent's turn as well. You have options here for advanced settings. You can change the size of cards, how you want them to arrange, whether they kind of stack outward, whether they directly stack, or you want them to lay next to each other. You have replay speeds and settings for replays here. And you have the options for changing your graphics, whether you want the gameplay to be big card or compact. I'm perfectly okay with big card. And then you have the automatic, speeds versus quality settings. And then the final option is display versus sound. Display and sound. And this gives you the option here is where you choose your avatar. These are those generic things that are earned by, you get 5 by signing up. You can buy others from bots and various other players. You can also earn these by participating in special events, usually release events, promos, and winning gets you a different a more rare avatar and whatnot. You can click to change it to different things, and as you hit these left and right buttons, it'll scroll you through all of the images that you have available. This is what I currently use. It tells you the name of who it is. Then you have, the playmat background. You can change what the background is on your playmat in game. Adjust your sound and stuff like that. That's all done here. And then the third option, close. Pretty self-explanatory. It closes that for you. Let's see. The next thing we have here is play, and this is where you're going to go to most of the time. This gives you other options. You see, as you hover over tournament and casual play, it gives you more rooms. Now, casual play has a whole bunch of rooms. Just starting out is for the very newer players. It's going to give you options. You walk in, it looks like this. It gives you a whole bunch of games, and this is every game that is currently playing in the just starting out room. Now, most of the games you'll see here are Planeswalker, and these are the gold bordered cards in those decks. You can also do things. If you go to this view, it is an important thing to do when you're in these rooms. This gives you an option to basically, again, filter out games you don't want to see. You can use all, which shows you everything that is currently playing, completed, and waiting for players. You can also sort by active. Active are games that are currently dueling or waiting for players. Waiting is obviously just games waiting for players. Playing is just games that are dueling. Buddies will narrow it down to anyone who is on your friends list who has a game up, and then you can go watch their game if it's watchable, or you can go through and just join a game that they have set up. You can also sort by clan members or games that are completed if you wanted to sit and watch a replay of a game. Now, if you wanted to do this, let's replay this game here. You can either double click on it or you can click the replay button. It brings up this is what the game looked like. You had the two opponents playing, and you have basic video controls. Currently selected is the stop button. This is a single frame, single step advance, and this is fast forward. If you click fast forward, it immediately jumps to the next turn. If you click the single play button, it advances stop by stop by stop. And the replay stops are set up by you in your settings that we just covered there. Now you can also just simply hit play, and this will, without any other interaction, play through the game for you, and you can watch the game as it played out. Let's just hit stop. When you're done with a replay, you right click and it gives you stop watching. So that's how you're going to basically navigate through actual rooms. When you're in a room like this, if you see it adds it here just starting out as one of your tabs at the bottom, you can right click and go close the scene, and it will close that. You can go to play here. Let's go. What else? You have just for fun. This is basically the casual room. This is where you're going to spend most of your time, I would imagine, finding games. And you can click on the headers to sort by type to see what's playing. These are constructed standard games. Shows you these are a single game, which means it's not a match. Match means 2 out of 3. Shows you the players. The number means okay, you're in a match, and 2 would mean they're in game 2. Status shows these are all waiting for players. That's what I have it sorted by. You can sort by the ID number. Each game is given an ID number. It has a starting time and whether or not you can watch it. And again, just for fun is usually the casual room. People usually get a little upset if you're playing a tournament deck in that setting. Let's see, you also have Anything Goes, which is a little more free-for-all. You can do a lot of broken things here and people don't get very angry about it. It means literally anything goes. The tournament practice room is where you want to come if you want to test out a competitive deck. You want to practice with a deck before joining a tournament. Again, you can sort through all these options in all these rooms. Usually when you go here, you want to set it up as a match, because when you do tournament play, it is best 2 out of 3 with sideboarding and whatnot. So you want to make sure you set those up as match. People are more likely to join matches than they are single games. In this particular room, at the very least. Next up is multiplayer. This is where you come if you want to play a multiplayer game. There's a lot of options for setting up games here. Again, don't want to go into too much detail in this video about it, but you see formats like Commander is a multiplayer format, and you can have anywhere from 4 to 6 players in certain formats. Usually you'll see these with 4 or 5. It's really hard these days to get to 6. For whatever reason, the multiplayer environment is kind of dying off. Let's see what else. Under casual, you also have casual drafts. This is something that gets very little use. As you see, there's only one person in this room. It's not something that ever gets use. Next up on the list is tournament, and tournament has its own sub-list as well. This is scheduled events. This is where you will find all of your... and this is another thing, it does occasionally, especially in these scheduled events, it does take time to load up the full list here. This is where you're going to find all of your daily events. You see it shows here, this is the description. This is going to be a modern tournament, a modern daily event. It shows the starting time and date. This is one that's already started, so it shows what round it is, how many players. This is more important as you come down to a tournament that hasn't started yet. Say you wanted to play in the Momir tournament. It shows you here it's going to be a 4-round tournament. That's, 4 rounds, best 2 out of 3 is each game. Shows you the starting time here is 6:30 for me, waiting players, and there's no one signed up for it yet, but it shows you that there is a minimum of 16 required for this event to quote-unquote fire or start. There's also a maximum, but tournaments rarely reach this maximum. So if you go to, say you wanted to join this, this is going to be what it looks like when you double click on it or hit go to. It shows you what the product is, the type, the structure, the minimum and maximum number of players, K values. Honestly, I don't even know. I'll be completely honest there. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it has something to do with how many qualifying points and whatnot you get in competitive play. But you have entry options. When you click here, it shows you here if you want to enter, it's going to require you 6 tickets. And you also have an option here to purchase. Say you wanted to join, but you don't have 6 tickets. Clicking the purchase button will take you to the store. So if you're done with that, or you decide you don't want to, right-click again on it and close scene. And click back on scheduled events will bring you back to here. These at the bottom are completed events. If you wanted to go through and watch some kind of replay, you can do that here. Let's go to a sealed event, because this will give you a better idea of entry options. When you join a sealed event, there are several options for joining. This one says you can join with 6 packs plus 2 tickets, and that's fine. You can go purchase if you don't have these. Option 2 is you can simply join with 26 tickets, which is basically the equivalent value of 6 packs and 2 tickets. Or at the same time, you can use this, which is the official pack that you buy in the store. And if you don't, this will tell you if you have either of these. This is what you need. This is what's required. And again, purchase button if you want to go actually purchase. So let's close these down. Alright, and then back in the tournaments, you also have release queues. These are used when you have a new set that is released. AVR just came out, so when they do these special events and you have drafts that are only AVR and stuff like that, this is where you'll find those. Other constructed queues can be found under constructed queues. You see here, I enlarge this. This shows these are currently in the 10th anniversary, so these are where these are. And these are things you can join, and the number of players is here, waiting for players. These are the 2-man queues. If you ever heard anyone talk about this, this is where you can do a one-on-one match. It does cost 2 tickets, and then the winner of the match will get a single pack of whatever the current payout is for that 2-on-2. So if you don't have time for a tournament, you just want a quick competitive game, you can do that here. I've done it with Pauper. And winner gets a single pack. So tournaments, limited queues is where you're going to find all your sealed events. This is drafting and just sealed formats, as you'll see here. It shows you again, these are the descriptions, and when you go to join one, it tells you what your entry options are. You click the option buttons, it'll show you what you can do. So, again, not going to go into too much detail about what each of these is, or we'll be here forever. But you also have an option here for leagues. I don't know why this is a thing, because leagues are not something you can currently do in Client. And it's not even going to let me close out of that. So, the final thing is My Games, and this is just going to bring you to the tab here that has all of your saved files. And again, not all of them will save. If you go to Card, it's going to bring you to Collection, Deck Editor, and Store. These are things that can be accessed from these buttons here, Collection, Deck Editor, Store. Again, I don't personally know why you would access it from the menu, but it is another way to get to those spots. Community section, you have the Hall of Champions, which it's, you see, construct rating, living rating. This is, as you're going through certain seasons and stuff, and they had the rating of certain players, this is where they would be ranked and where you can come and see, you know, people who have won big numbers in competitive play. My Buddies, just basically, again, going to take you over to this tab that shows that. Clans, this will bring you to the clan section. Kind of a, I don't know, a useless thing in my opinion. This spot on the left is going to show you all of the clans. I guess there's currently over 10,000 clans. This is the name, and then next to the name you have the number of packs won. The list of names here on the homepage, top 5 clans, these are all based on the most packs won. So currently Limited Resources has the most packs won out of all of the clans. And you do have a search option here. Let's see if we can search out. Here's Limited Resources, and it says that they have won 248,000 packs. That is pretty nuts. And it says here's the description. You know, you've clicked on it, it shows the description, it shows you who created it, and then here's all the members right there. Clans are kind of a, I'm going to say a useless thing. They really have not done anything to support this whole community aspect, and there's a lot of area where it could be done. If you wanted to create a clan, here's where you would do it. You would click Request New Clan, and you'd do name and description and go through all that. When you are part of a clan, it does add a tab here that says Clan, and like Buddies, it'll be a chat window, and it'll show all of the people in your clan and who's online and who's not. So let's close these and go back to Community. Last thing here is Marketplace. I don't know why they do this. There is an additional sub-menu for Marketplace, but the only thing there is Classifieds. Now, Classifieds is where you can come to post trades, look for trades, and so on. When it comes, this is what it loads at, and it lists all these things alphabetically. Here is the name of the seller, and here is all of the information on what they're selling. There's a limited amount of what they can type here, so you'll see a lot of fun pictures, a lot of names, and it's usually common stuff that is actually sought after. So for example, let's take a look at this guy here. Here's the name of the person. It says open. That means they are open for trade. There is no one currently trading with them. You can only trade with one person at a time. So if someone is already trading with them, you will not be able to. Here it says it's a smart bot. That means it is not an actual person. It is an automated system that is buying cards. And for example, this is Clifftop Retreat, and it is buying it for 1.1 tickets. That's how that works. So as you scroll down, it's all these different people and all their sellings. If you wanted to put up something you were selling, you would click in this box, so the cursor comes up and type stuff here. I'm selling X. And then you would hit Submit Posting. Now that means that your advertisement would be posted here, and people scrolling through would be able to find it. Now you also have an option here. There's a search box, so if I'm just looking for, say I'm looking for Garrick, you can hit that and hit search, and it comes up, and you can see all of the people who have listed him in any form in their advertisement. After that, if you wanted to reset it, you just hit show all, and it goes back to this. Say you wanted to search for MTGO traders, and MTGO trader, they are, of course, the sponsors of PureMTGO.com and a very reputable site for trading. And when you hit search, it will show you, oh, here's a trader's bot. I guess usually if you do it without the space is where it comes up. Yeah. There's a lot of people who can, I don't know exactly how it works, but they have found a way to basically insert MTGO Trader into their tag, so when you search it, their name comes up, and you're going to get all of this junk that is not MTGO Traders, and you'll have to scroll down until you find these MTGO Traders actual bots. So it's a little annoying, but what you can do, you see here it says busy as opposed to open. What you can do is after you have used a bot, while you're in chat with a bot, you can add them to your buddy list so you can find them faster. I don't know if you can see it, but I have here the MTGO Traders bots that I want here, and I've added them to my friends list so you can find them that way. The classifieds thing is not great by any means. It could use some work, the trading system. There's a lot of pretty pictures and colorful ads, but usually a little bit of searching you can find what you're looking for. Let's see. If I'm trying to trade to a bot out of my friends list, I right click and go to trade, and it has to again ask for permission, and this bot is currently occupied, so it says MTGO Traders free bot is unavailable for trading. Okay. If you had gotten a bot that works, let's see if this one's going to come up. No. A lot of times bots you find will be busy. Let's see if we can find a random bot. Let's see. Trying to find one who is actually open. So I can give you a quick look at the trade interface. Okay, here you go. So when you trade, this is what's going to come up. This is the chat box with the person you're trading in. This is going to show the cards in front of you here are going to be what they have available for trade. Each bot works differently, but basically what's going to happen is, say I want this card, what I'm going to do is double click it, and it's going to bring it down and show you get one card, and this is the card that I want. You have here, you can load your wish list to see, again, that's something I didn't go into really, but you can load the wish list to see what it has that you wanted, this particular person or bot. It has the options for sorting, colors, instant sorceries. You can sort by rarity, you can insert your foils, you can confirm trade, which has to be done to complete it, but if you don't want to do it, just hit cancel. It's going to verify, you sure you want to cancel this trade? Yes. Alright, so hopefully that's a pretty easy way to explain that there. There's a lot of stuff that goes on within this client. There's a lot of intricacies as far as settings go and actually building games and whatnot. Let me show you real quick. I didn't want to go into a lot of detail on this, but let me show you real quick how to start a game. So you go to play, you'll go to casual play, you go to, say, just for fun. It's going to load up here. And you want to start a game, you click new game. Now this brings you options. First you have to set what type of game. Obviously it's going to be constructed, so don't worry about that one. Next thing you have to do is sort by type. Say I want to play Pauper. I have to find it in the list and click it. That says Pauper. Then play structure. On one duel you can do solitaire games, you can set up for commander. We're going to set it to solitaire. You see that reduces your options because there is no clock in solitaire. When it's one-on-one duel, you go to match structure, single game versus best 2 out of 3. Event timer, you can adjust the time to make it longer or shorter. Then your deck option, this is going to tell you the name of the deck. If you don't know the name of the deck, you hit browse, and this is going to bring you to your folders, and you can navigate to find the deck you want, and simply hit load when you figured it out. Then you can add a comment. This is going to post out here. You see this person says no quitters. When you add a comment, that will show up here in your description, and hopefully people will read it before joining. You can say singleton. Currently the client does not allow you to do more than one restriction, so I can set this to Pauper, but I can't set it to be Pauper Singleton. So if I want people to sit down with a Singleton deck, I have to type Singleton in my comments. You also have options here, starting handicaps. You see people will say 40-10 in their comment, and what that means is 40 life, 10 card hand to start the game. To get those set up, you click, make sure this box is checked for allow starting handicaps. Next is allow watchers. If this is clicked, that means people can watch your game in replay or current. If you do not check it, that means no one can watch it. You can also click this here to allow only buddies to join. This means no one's going to be able to sit at your table, join your game, unless they are on your friends list. And that's definitely a benefit. And then there's a default button, which will reset this to the default. Pretty useless, but OK will create the table. Oh, not a legal deck. So Pauper, if you hit OK, it creates the table. And this is what it's going to look like. When someone joins, a button will show up here, and you hit start game. If you want to cancel it, you hit cancel. And you can also cancel out of this one. So, like I said, there's a lot to this client. There's probably a lot of little things that I am missing. There's a lot of stuff you can do. But hopefully this video, while long, is going to give you a decent idea for how to basically interact with different parts of this client. You can feel free to add comments and questions at the bottom of this video in the comment section there, and I will do my best to answer them. You can also check out many of the forums, and people are usually pretty friendly with helping. Obviously not everyone in game is going to be friendly, but people are usually willing to help out and answer some questions. So hopefully this is a pretty good explanation, and definitely if you're a newer player, go check out my article when it comes up on puremtgo.com. When it finally gets posted, I will link it in the description here. And you can check out, I've kind of walked through the whole aspect of how to join the game.